Good afternoon, class. My name is Ivy Pennington, and today I will be presenting and discussing the effects of music, preconditioned environment, and leadership, and the need for these conditions to be present in our hospitals' operations. I currently work for Baylor Scott & White Medical Center Garland. I am their human resources business partner, and I have seen firsthand the need of being creative and innovator of new ideas to the purpose of this study is to investigate the effects of music, color painted walls, and leadership relationship on nurses' job satisfaction. Studies have shown a link between preconditioned work environment and job satisfaction. A thorough review of Baylor Garland's pre-data regarding patients and nurses' satisfaction scores has revealed low scores, forcing human resources as well as other leaders to determine best practices to increase the job satisfaction and retention amongst our people. We conducted a sampling or a sample of a survey with our groups of different generations, all who belong to Baylor Garland acute care units throughout the hospital. And we will be shortly reviewing the data and what we found out in regards to the preconditioned environment for these nurses. In healthcare, many of us know that a lot of things are changing. The model of care is totally and constantly transforming. During recent changes of medical reimbursement legislation, Medicare is no longer processing reimbursement to hospitals for patient care on the basis of quantity. Healthcare is moving away from a quantitative model to a qualitative care model. The patients have the control to measure their experience by their own level of satisfaction. In addition, the workplace is changing and human resources must be innovative in how to retain our emerging workforce by incorporating processes and initiatives that are aligned with the 21st So how are current nurses' interactions among themselves, with leaders, and patients? Well, nurses are like surveillance cameras, if you really think about it. They're up and running around almost 24 hours a day. Most of them work 12-hour shifts. They work 3 days straight. Just a constant interaction with patients and making sure that they're paying attention on their level of performance as well as detail needs to be sharp during that time. And so healthcare administrators must look into methods to increase nurses' satisfaction in their job so that they can display jovial interaction amongst their patient, increasing their satisfaction with the hospital stay. This is an important challenge that administrators continue to research, as we must close the gap if we want to see upward patient satisfaction. As mentioned previously, healthcare model has changed, and so who decides now? Between the quality and the quantity, who is the ultimate decision maker that provides where the hospitals have the quality that they The answer is simple, is the patient. The patient ultimately gives us feedback through a survey, tells us what they thought based on the experience that they received from our people. Our people interact with them, whether they're nurses or healthcare providers, and the patient ultimately makes that decision. So therefore, healthcare professionals as well as healthcare HR professionals are constantly looking into new ideas to increase patient satisfaction. What else can we do? Our qualitative data in Baylor Garland shows that patient satisfaction scores are particularly low in the areas of pain management, communication amongst nurses and patients, and the level of satisfaction with the hospital environment. So all of those really all correlate with our people, the way they feel, the way they communicate, and the way we create our environment. So our leadership has dedicated some time and resources currently to test these areas and the areas where we can increase the level of satisfaction amongst our people, which will be the nurses or any other healthcare providers, as well as patients. Before we implemented our new initiatives and new ideas in how to engage our people, we currently had to position ourselves with a better understanding as to, who are our competitors and how close they are to our proximity. And if you can see, Baylor Garland is right there in that big circle, right in the middle. We have about 3 miles away, Parkland Garland Health Center, as well as Methodist Richardson, just all within miles. So not only do patients get to decide where they're going to go, but also our people. Those nurses who live near Baylor Garland, they can drive to these other locations, especially if they feel that they're more suited for that particular culture, whether it's the environment or whether it's leadership. According to the advisory board of our data, data 2014, this is a graph of how the percentage of engagement looks like, or disengagement, I should say, with regards to all healthcare providers or all healthcare staff members. And if you can see, the graph looks pretty low when it comes to our ends. And our ends, or registered nurses, are really the people that interact with the patients the most. Sure, physicians interact with them. Sure, licensed practitioners interact with them. Other type of frontline, non-clinical, and even clinical. But at the end of the day, the nurse is who spends the most time with the patient. So if she is not feeling comfortable, if she's not feeling engaged, if she's not feeling happy, it would all show. Their human beings are not robots where they work many hours, and they need to be in an environment where we can be creative to make it comfortable, where they can actually engage with the patients for that satisfaction. So the percent of disengaged nurses is about 7.4. And when you put that in perspective of the number of nurses that we hire, that can become pretty costly for hospitals. Right here, this is a funny diagram that I wanted to throw out there and show that some of our nurses, as well as employees in general, some of these are the symptoms of a disengaged employee. And we see this very often and very frequent in our HR office. A lot of making excuses, lack of enthusiasm, complaining, and it's just things that we as leaders need to consider. And instead of pushing it aside and just creating excuses as to why this is happening, we need to make sure that as providers for healthcare, we diagnose conditions with the patients and treat them. It's the same thing when you have a disengaged employee. Why is that? And what we need to do to Therefore, we need to take a look at our data and review what is really going on so that we can make better decisions in how to engage. According to our data, here is an example of the surveys that our patients actually And they're giving different slides and different questions for them to actually answer. And so right here you can see our percent of inpatient satisfaction, meaning the patient was in the hospital, and this is how they rated us. And we have been consistently in the low 90th percentile or high 80th percentile. And as you can see, the percentile ranking, that is where we need to be in order to be a high-level hospital where everyone feels comfortable coming and having all those great patient experience with our people. And so if you can see right here, I believe one of the things that kind of catches our attention is nurses kept you informed. About 88 percentile, we need to be in the 92 percentile. And you know, those are all indicators of the communication and just how they're feeling, the nurse's attitude to a personal request. You know, right about the 90th percentile when we need to be in the 97 percentile. So again, promptness to respond to the call in the 80th percentile. Friendly, we're pretty okay in that. We could do better. But those are all the other areas that we really need to focus, and all that comes down to the interaction and how the nurses are feeling when it comes to engaging or interacting with patients. Next, we need to review our HCAP scores. So what does HCAP is? I will show you that shortly, but I wanted to show you in 2015, the latter part of the year, we actually received this from the state. Medicare and Medicaid office gives us this information. And the target, as you can see, was in the almost 93rd, 95th percentile, and we ended about 78, 79 percentile, and that was just the total data put together as of the year 2015. And again, that all comes from the patient. Again, the patient is who decides the level of quality, and it is all through the interactions with the patient. So what is HCAHPS? Well, according to the Advisory Nursing Board 2014, it's the score that hospitals must maintain or attain to patient surveys in order to receive full Medicare or Medicaid reimbursement. So in other words, your patients will dictate the level of reimbursement you're going to receive as a hospital, depending on your people's interaction with them. So it is very crucial for leaders to be ready to be able to tackle this problem. In addition, those surveys that the patients complete from the HCAHPS score, as you can see in here, they determine the level of quality by completing the Press Gaming Patient Satisfaction Score. That's what it's called. Every time they're committed in the hospital. So when you become a patient and an inpatient and you go home, you receive this hospital survey from the state, and the state actually gathers the data. It's not just the hospital administrators. They gather the data and then they let you know it's legislated, it's actually administered by the state, and they'll let you know how well you did or what areas you didn't score well. Also, patients measure their level of satisfaction on their pain management, communication with their nurses, and overall hospital experience. So patient satisfaction is the driving force for hospitals to receive full reimbursement. It doesn't get better than that. We have to have a concrete plan on how we are going to engage with our people so that our patients feel they're actually receiving great quality care. So when we look at our financials and our data, this is how kind of it looks like when it comes from the reimbursement from Medicare, Medicaid in regards to the quality of care from our patients. That graph right there shows 100%, and the 100% of reimbursement comes from different areas. The outcome, the efficiency, the clinical processes, and the patient experience. So all of that, it's related to your nurses. And our nurses, as I showed you previously, are the most disengaged healthcare providers in the healthcare organization. So therefore, there's a profound impact in our bottom line. We have a potential, if we are able to receive 100% from patients, we have a potential to receive $1.348 million. That is a lot of money that we're not able to even come near it. As of March, we received only 7.5% out of that patient experience, and if you can look at the graph, you were able to obtain up to 25%. That's not even a quarter to what we're actually able to attain, and it is just, you know, incredible the amount of experience or opportunities that we have to work on. The good thing is that we are doing nursing disengagement is a topic that we are constantly talking about, in what areas and what things we can do differently so that we can close all those gaps and make it better. And recently our nurses completed an engagement survey that I will be showing you shortly, and show you how well they actually gave us the feedback and what areas shows that we need to do some work. Right here it shows you that we sent about 500 surveys to a total of all registered nurses. 300 of them received the survey and actually took it. 200 of them were not taken, they didn't respond, or they just simply didn't care to complete it. And that happens quite a bit. Some of the questions that we asked, I'll go quickly in here, and I actually show you right here how well we did in 2012 in comparison to 2015. A lot of our people in 2012 were very favorable with the amount of communication they were receiving and listening practice from their team members as well as leaders. As you can see, a lot of them now are in a neutral position. A lot of time, that's kind of the middle road. You even think you can bring them to the positive, or those are people that simply just don't trust you and they just don't know what to tell you. They don't want to tell you the truth. So just areas. The next question that we ask our people is the growth and the opportunity that they have to improve their career. And as you can see in 2012, 76% were favorable to it, and now not so much, only a quarter. 33% it's favorable results, and about 58% again. Recognition, again, 75% neutral as of 2015 versus 2012, 61% were in favorable of that. Turnover, which is the work situation cause employees to want to stay, as you can see, 35% unfavorable, much higher than in 2012, and 53% in a neutral position compared to 81% in 2012. Just this area right here is an area where we have taken tough and bigger steps to be able to trust and fairness is another area of concern. 72% in the neutral area. In 2012, 84% was favorable to the results of how the environment, which is what this case study is all about. They believe 66% believe that it's favorable, that it causes me to stay and perform at the highest in comparison to 2012, 84% of them. So the 66%, as we notice in here, is in the favorable, and the other quarter of them not so much. So we're not sure, are those people just not telling us the truth? Are they feeling that the environment is good? So we just decided to deeper data and see the results of the people who actually exiting our organization. And you can see Generation Y, which is the millennials, are the majority of our exits. About 51% of our people are in the Generation Y and exiting the organization. This is critical for leaders to understand so that we can have a better plan in how to engage and retain. We took a deeper look into our data to see the tenure breakthroughs and about what time of their learning curve, as far as development curve, are they exiting the organization. And you can see right here is very notable that right about the 2-year mark, 21% of our people in that generation Y decided to leave, and another 21% wait between the 2nd year to the 4th year. And it's very curious, this data, when you take a look at the type of generations that we have. And it kind of goes together with the millennials versus the Generation X. And you could see Generation X, it's another large group that exits the organization. And this is an interesting graph, and it shows you, how to engage with our millennials. According to data, 53% of hiring managers say it's difficult to find and retain millennials. 58% of millennials expect to leave their jobs in 3 years. So very aligned with our data. As we can see, most of them are leaving in between that 2nd year to 2 to 4 year mark, and they are leaving, and that costs money. Retaining an employee is costly, and replacing the employee, not only physically, but all that knowledge that just walks away from our organization is very expensive. What can we do? As leaders, we have become very innovators of ideas and better ways to what can we do differently? What can we do that stands out, that makes us better than the hospital 6 miles or 3 miles from us? And so our ideas are music, better workplace, and strong leadership. And so I'm excited to present these concepts in some of the research that we have done, and some of the implementations have actually have shown us some level of increase when it comes to some of these aspects of interaction and communication. So why music? I'm going to let you take a look at, listen to a video and take a look at it and give me your feedback of what you think. I found it very interesting when I found it. We have actually used this case study in our leadership committee and meetings that we've had to understand why do we believe that music can impact not only our patient's experience, but also the nurse who works countless hours, 12-hour shift, 3 days in a row, and just is exhausted. Why is the need to have music and relax our people? So take a look at this video, and hoping that you like it, and give me your thoughts.
This particular experiment was designed by our research scientists, who include a physicist and a neuroscientist. So they were looking at ways of actually structuring different types of music in order to see what effect it had on performance. The interesting thing, I think, about it, although they use different genres of music, overall the effect was that 9 out of 10 people worked better when they were listening to music.
Yeah, I think I did much better when the music was playing than when it wasn't.
I did better when the music was playing. I had some upbeat pop music and that made me go faster. Yeah, and when I didn't have the music, I got distracted.
I find I'm more productive if I do have the music on in the background. It makes me more fidgety if it's dead quiet. Makes me want to go and do something else.
The take-home message is music is a very powerful management tool if you want to increase not only the efficiency of the workforce, but also their mental state, in the sense their emotional state. They're going to become more positive about the work.
The current research also shows that it's important to choose the right genre of music to help your teams and business with the improvement in productivity. Two examples of this are dance music, which has been proven to improve the productivity around proofreading, whilst the use of ambient music has shown that it improves the accuracy of data entry.
So our Music Works research shows us that benefits of music, commercial music being played in a business with a license present, bring enormous benefits. And the cost of a license can be very low, anything from £50 upwards. And in comparison to many business tools that can be used to drive productivity and increase motivation, the cost is very low. Yes, it does need to be paid, there is a license that has to be acquired, but the commercial value of that is enormous.
So what did you think of the video? I'm not sure if you caught the attention of 88% of people feel more energized and better when listening to music and performing better. And 9 times out of 10 people have a higher level of performance. That says a lot. And oftentimes, you know, leaders become very rigid. Well, can't have music in a hospital. Says who? And what data have you not reviewed that does not support that? And so that's what we did. We have gathered some data from some case studies that have shown some improvements, not only in the work environment with our nurses, but also with the patients and the satisfaction and that pain management, managing of that the pain and the way they're feeling, and we've actually seen it firsthand. So research has concluded that music has a great impact on performance, and it has an increase in performance for both endurance of the task and short power tasks. Researchers have clearly confirmed that music is beneficial and has great effects onto the performance of people. Music creates mood around followers, and as we all know, the human beings, we all have emotions and we can have mood swings, and this particular study showed that music is able to relax people and provide a positive mood where it can actually influence the person's perspective or behavior towards any particular situation. There was a particular study that was done in an intensive care unit in 5 hospitals in California that further described that patients' expectations concerning the use of music in the ICU and how the effects of music had a positive impact on the outcome of the level of care among patients. Case study also suggested that patients are more relaxed, experience less stressful situations when receiving tough medical news. Studies also suggest that there is an important correlation between the musical effects and the improvement of patients' and nurses' satisfaction. Several studies have concluded that about 91% of the respondents of this particular case study agreed that the choice of preferred music among the quality of care can help reduce or decrease the stress associated with pain experienced amongst patients. I think a lot of us can probably relate to that. If you're in pain and you try to relax or think of something else, or perhaps listen to some music like I do, it does kind of put your mind at ease and thinking of something else, and so you're not just concentrating on your misery or the pain that you're enduring. So certainly I can relate to this case study as well. They further concluded that about 66 of the respondents for this particular case study perceived that music can help increase nurses' satisfaction and enjoyment of their relationship with their patients. So 66% of the nurses felt like, hey, I just feel better. My mood swings or my moods are better, my behavior is better. They also concluded that about 94% of the respondents agreed that the choice of the preferred music was able to impact their family members in a more of a comfort experience while their loved one is in the hospital. So good case studies that support our idea that music is needed. Other effects of music, the West Virginia University Healthcare decided to extend music to their patients and collected data from an internal survey asking patients to measure the effects of music in their most recent visit in the hospital, and they would recommend that form of therapy. They would recommend it. Well, approximately 81 of the patients voluntarily responded and participated. And in the response to the first question, 72% believe that music is very valuable during hospitalization, and 96% will recommend it. So to us, this case study has the solution and the answer that we were looking for. Patients, as I mentioned previously, have the say-so as to what the quality of care looks like to them in basis of their interaction with their nurses. So if 96% of them recommend it, and about of those, 72% believe that music is valuable and can help them reduce the stress level and increase that nursing satisfaction or nursing interaction, this is no-brainer. It's something that we had to do and implemented and have seen some very great results. We believe that colors matter. Look at this picture. It just makes you feel alive. It makes you feel lively and jovial. Why do colors matter? Well, according to Kellyanne Meola from the University of Hawaii at Hello, she stated that visual elements, including colors, can have an influence on employee behaviors, their productivity levels, moods, and attitudes, resulting in better patients' experience. The psychological effects of wall colors in a workplace are an important consideration when creating a perceived room temperature or ambience. So again, combining the music plus the right colors on the wall is the best treatment that we can give our people when making sure that their moods, that their satisfaction, that their stress level are reduced. All of this is great for us to keep in mind and just to kind of medicate our people. And what I mean by that is, just like when we see patients that have an issue or a medical issue and we have to prescribe them the right plan of action to resolve that issue or to get better, it's the same thing here. If we know that patient satisfaction scores are low, engagement is low, turnover is high, people are not leaving, they're going to our competitors, why not try this and give it a try and see what we can come up with? And that's what we did a few months ago. If you take a look at the regular hospital hallways, if you've ever been to any regular hospital, you'll see this is very familiar to you. It's just, a clean look, but more of a simple, not any lively colors, just kind of to our colorful, full of joy. It just makes you feel like, oh, I'm alive. These colors have an impact on us as human beings and behavior. And you can see everyone here pretty much, you know, they knew the picture was being taken, but besides that, you just can't see everyone around it. It's just that clear and bright colors truly influence our abilities to stay together. Right here, the nurse's station, just to have bright colors, and the right colors are the right colors to choose to being able to engage with the people. So according to further studies, research suggests that yellow walls help employees to be alert and energized. This color can be used in combination of green and blue, so having the right combination is also a must. Green or blue walls help employees stay calm and distressed. We all can agree that that's pretty much needed in our hospitals, right? Not just for patients, but also for our people to being able to deal with the issues that patients may have. Further research confirms that regular white, brown, or cream color walls do not stimulate employees. As a matter of fact, these colors de-energize employees, causing sadness and possibly withdrawals. So we need to, and if you think about it, most of our hospitals, they just have that off-white color, cream looking walls, and just more of a their kind of atmosphere. So we need to re-energize it through music. We need to re-energize it to better wall colors, better selection of them where there is yellow or a combination of yellow, green, and blue, so that you can help them stay alert with the yellow color, to be energized, and through the green and blue to being able to deal with the stress and stay calm in some hectic situations. Certainly, the need of the right leadership matters, just to having our leaders to being able to have the right attitude of let's do this together. It's the right approach in addition to the music and the right colors. So we actually decided to do this in one of our units in our hospital, and so far this was the chart that was created for the control group and the medicated, so to speak, group, and we were able to keep track of how many of them were listening to music, how was the score with our patients for pain management, for the environmental satisfaction for them, as well as were the patients listening to music or was just the nurses. And so we had different hallways in this particular unit, and the hallway A was the control group, and so no music, but just the white colors and just poor leadership. And what I mean by that is just someone not as engaged as in group B. And the group B had classical music, it had the yellow greenish walls color, and just a more solid, well-rounded leader. And collaborated with employee health, and we have been able to test the medicated group to see their stress level in the morning, and we tested about 15 of our nurses who participated in this test, just to see their level of cortisol and see where the stress level was before, when they were working in those regular conditions of no music and just off cream colors, and then when they then were transferred to the unit that had the music and the wall colors. And so shortly after, as I mentioned, had been working on this for the beginning of the year, and so we have been able to pull some of the scores that our patients as well as our nurses interact with, and they're able to actually be tested and rated in this area. And look at this, the communication In hallway A is about 70th in the 70th percentile, and hallway B is in the mid 80th percentile consistently for the most part. You can see pain management, the hospital experience, the nurses' stress. As you can see in hallway B is lower. It's about a 10% difference than in hallway A. So some of these, like I said, it's only a 6 months data, but we are very happy to see these scores in some areas decrease and in other areas increase, and we can certainly believe that we will see a major increase in satisfaction scores from the results, as I said, the pre-data showed that our hospital patient satisfaction was 79th percentile in 2014, and the target was 92%. So we need to make sure that we get this information. And Group B, which is the intervention group, has superior communication between nurses and patients, increased patient management communication with patients, and enhanced the hospital experience due to our nurses' decreased stress by the effects of music, yellow-green walls, and supportive leadership. We truly believe that this combination of treatment has actually impacted in a positive way our patients as well. The random sampling was a good representation of our general population in our hospital, nurses and patients, so we expect to have concluded with a good presumed data that can be a true representation of our nurses and patients for their reaction to classical music. Of course, we only had the strategy going for the past 6 months, so I don't have a lot of data. We have too many new leaders, so that's also another part of our limitation to our project. But nonetheless, enjoying my last almost 7 months of doing this in the hospital. I was very excited to have joined actually your class, Dr. Sanchez. I have enjoyed it. I have learned. I've interacted with some of my leaders and shared some of the good things that I have been able to research. Part of these case studies that I presented here, we utilize them in our committees to come up with new initiatives and new ways and new perspectives. So I hope you have enjoyed my presentation. I look forward to the feedback and questions and comments. Thank you again. Good luck to everyone, and thank you for your time.